Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, switched it up, got the books behind me. New style in the background, but also a little bit more comfortable in the room. It was getting crowded in here. If you like this live stream, throw me a like. If you don't like it, don't like it. It's better to have an opinion. If you want to subscribe to the channel, subscribe. There will be live streams regularly. And today it's a little bit of an off time, so anyone that came in today usually doesn't catch me at this time. So if you have any breakup questions, concerns, worries, hopes, wishes, thoughts, pain, I guess there's a lot of pain sometimes in a breakup, shoot them my way, put them in the comments, and maybe I'll get to them. But today, actually, I wanted to talk to you about an interesting topic. Will I be alone forever? Right? It's kind of a dramatic thing, I think. But someone just recently asked me in a live coaching session. We've done a few coaching sessions. And this individual's got a good job. He's got a good relationship with his kids. He's got a great way about him, very down to earth. Just a good person. And you might be thinking, well, you probably say that to everyone you coach. No, not really. This is genuine. And he just asked me for a moment, can I ask you one question? He said, what do you do with the question of, will I be alone forever? And I thought to myself, that's a really good question, actually. I think the one thing you have to lose if you're ever questioning where you're at in life or what's going down is the idea of forever, because you're not forever. Nothing's forever, right? And if you think about attachments in life, and a lot of times we have this attachment theory. We have your partner you might be attached to, different things regarding that. But one of the big things is, what's up, Jesse Chapman? Okay, something's happening with the software here. I thought I got it right. Let's see if we can get it right. Nope. It's saying that it's not going to work. Uh-oh. Let's take it. Jesse, we all have an expiration date. Jesse, bear with me for a minute here. YouTube's telling me that they don't have enough video bandwidth here, so I have to check this for a moment. Hold on a second. Not sure what it is. This has happened before a couple of times. YouTube is receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. It's better now? Okay, we're back on deck. A little technical difficulties. Hopefully that won't be the theme for the live stream, but if it is, maybe I'll come back on deck just for Jesse alone. The Breakup Podcast number 21. Will I be alone forever? Like I said before, what is forever, first of all? And then get back to moments in your life that things were really good. They didn't last because obviously you're at a different place now. But the other thing is, when you look back, myself included, look back to moments that were dark, bleak, shitty, absolutely horrible, saddened. They didn't all last either. What happens is, especially when you have too much time on your hands, and I've been there before, you always want to say, oh, I'm working hard, I'm busy, but sometimes you have too much time on your hands. And what I mean by that is, like, you have loose time that's not being used in a constructive way. And that's when shit starts to eat up your mind about your past. And you start to think, wow, is this going to be forever? That I don't have shit to do? That I'm not busy enough? That I don't have someone with me? Al, you missed what we were going to talk about today. Will I be alone forever? I don't think you've ever had this thought before.
No.
Not at 23 years old.
Yeah. I would like to, if I would like to be alone, at least I guess.
You want to be alone because you live in a full house.
Yeah. At least I would like to spend the time with my cat.
Oh, God. That's private for another show, for another place, yeah. So but the idea is, like, I think what happens is if you still live with a full house with your family and whatnot, right? And you're in your early 20s. And the funny thing is like, when you're in that situation, not everyone, but some people are like, oh, I can't wait till I get my own place.
Yeah.
Like, I got my own pad, got my own condo, apartment, my own shack.
My own private space.
Yes. And I remember when I first got my first studio apartment in San Diego, blocks from the beach, I thought, this is fucking cool. This is really cool. And, you know, you moved out of home. And I when I moved out, I got along with my parents at the time. That wasn't always great. My grandmother had lived there. Home life was pretty good when I left. It wasn't always good when I was young, and it wasn't always good later on. But at that time, it was fine. But being, I think it was 19. I think I might have been 19. And having my own pad, I thought, this is great. This is just great. But you do miss having people around in the house when you live alone.
Yeah.
You do. You will miss them. But I will say, if you live with a group of people or a community, there's nothing better than that. But it's like anything else. It's like what you don't have, you kind of want.
Mm-hmm.
But if you lived alone and you had your own place, like I said, there's some good parts of it, and then there's some moments when you're like, oh, okay, I kind of wish I had that. But you won't. But I never had this thing where I was like, well, I'd be alone forever. Because when I was 19, I was fucking busy.
Uh-huh.
Had a job. I went to school. And the job I had was, it wasn't 40 hours a week. It was about 32. It was about 32 hours a week, I think. So it was just under that. So it's like 4 days of 8 hours. I ended up going full-time later on. And I had full-time school. So I didn't really have time to, like, when I got home, I wanted to relax. And then when you're home alone, you're like, fine. The times when it starts to eat you is like I said, when you don't have enough to do.
Uh-huh.
And that's when you got to look for enough things to do. But Aleph saying like, oh, I would have enough to do. See, this is when I was 19 years old, I didn't have a phone. We didn't have smartphones. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
We didn't even, you know, like the internet was like something like maybe we could send a message, or there was instant messenger. And so it wasn't like, let me just sit and play on my phone and go on social media. This was before social media, when people talked to each other more often. But I think it's a good question that everyone probably will ponder in their life if they go through a breakup. Will I be alone forever? And especially if you've been with someone for a long time, lived with someone for a long time, or lived in a full house and you really enjoyed it. If that's the case, then that's a perfectly honest question to ask yourself. What I would remove from it is the forever. Like, will I be alone
For a while.
for a while? Thanks, Aleph. That's like a little angel from the sky. For a while. It's true. Yeah. It's like, it's all moment to moment, bad days, good days, moments, 1 month, 1 year. It's like a little chapter in the book. Wow, that 2 years of my life sucked. And then something turned around. Wow, that, 6 months. You got to keep showing up. But the forever thing is what will get you. Mm-hmm. Because what is, like I said, it's even like when you wish for a lot of money. Is it really going to make you happy forever? There's still going to be some guy that pisses you off in the street or something like that. And I just saw, I don't know, have you seen this channel called Gaia?
Gaia?
Mm-hmm.
How to spell that?
Have you seen it, Danny? Gaia. It's spelled Gaia. Yeah. It's not a Thai word, though.
No, it's not.
Gaia is a Sanskrit, I think. Sanskrit? Oh, you know the word.
I know the word. It's the name of like an old goddess or something.
Something like, yeah. If you know what Gaia is, put it in the comments below. And on this channel, I don't know, I've talked about this in the live stream maybe before. They were talking about people with near-death experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm talking about? When someone dies and they come back. Did I tell you guys about this?
Yeah.
I told you already, Danny?
Yeah. Over a pizza.
Huh?
Over a pizza. Over a pizza.
Ove pizza?
No. You told us about that story when we were eating a pizza.
Oh, when we were eating pizza
Yeah.
over pizza. Yeah. It wasn't on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
I might have talked about it. I repeat myself sometimes. That's part of getting older, I suppose. But the interesting thing about that story was that this guy that had studied thousands of people that died and came back to life. One of the things they all came back and said, or most of them, he claimed, was that when you die, you go back and look over all your experiences like they're on like it's all in front of you, like your whole life is kind of like. Have you ever seen the Minority Report? with Tom Cruise, they have like this screen with people's lives and everything going on. It's all spread out. And then you go back through it and you get to see all the people's emotions and feelings of what you did to them. But also, which is kind of one of these woo-woo things that's out there, that everyone's connected, the universe is connected. And I probably when I was in my 20s, I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. You know, I don't feel connected with everyone in the world. But this is something that came up with the people that died. They really got the idea. They were like, actually, we are all connected. Feelings do count. And the most incredible thing in life is to love everyone. It's like, can you love everyone? So the guy said the interesting thing. Did I tell you this part, Danny? No? Okay. So the interesting thing about this is that he said the people that come back actually don't just go, okay, I'm going to love everyone and help old ladies across the street and, you know, do charity work and all this other shit. He's like, they actually still have bad days and get angry at people. But he said they're like, but they know they shouldn't be acting this way.
Yeah.
That it's not good for you, that you need to, you know, be helpful to people and you need to love other people, and that's at the center of everything. What you put out, you get out, and all this other crap. But they still, even though they know it, they had a near-death experience. Because if you have a near-death experience, you're like, okay, shit's not so serious. I've already experienced it. But he's saying that they would say, no, we still get angry though, right? Because you'd think like after you come back to life, you're just like,
Appreciate everything.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That you'd be, but I think that you probably do appreciate everything, and then it's like I've known someone recently that did. I'm not going to say exactly what it was, but they did some kind of herbal remedy from the Amazon that's very popular these days, and they did it with a shaman, and they were like, "Oh man, I feel so much better." Like you take this certain herb and you throw up and you get illusions and you go through time space and you go, you know what I mean? All this experience. He's like, man, I feel like a new man. I feel like, it feels so great. And he's like, I'm going to quit drinking. I'm going to quit partying so much. I'm going to quit doing this. And this individual wasn't like a good friend of mine. It's actually one of my good friends. But we're cool. We're talking and going on and on. And, the thing is, like 2 months later, he went back to what he did before. So it's like, what really counts? Environment, because he went back to the same place he lived. No, it wasn't spice. I believe it was a form of ayahuasca. Have you heard of that, Danny? No? Okay. No, it wasn't that. And spice is used by the Fijians. The Fijians use something called gava. I know that from having Polynesians in my family. Gava's big. I think that's what you're talking about. I used to say that when I lived in the block, I want my own place for a lot of reasons. I think organization is sometimes lack of simple things like not being on top of paperwork can mess the day up because it's always on the mind. Grog. I don't know what grog is. Is that gava? I don't know. Have you heard of grog?
No.
I don't know what that is. Aleph would probably try it if you put it in front of him, I think.
Yep.
I'll take some grog. Sure, no problem. What is grog, though? I'm not familiar with it. So getting back to the topic today, if you are broken up and you are alone and you feel like, will I be alone forever? You know what the answer is?
No.
It's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, if you think about it, it's like if you sat around and went, I'm waiting for someone to, no, it's actually up to you. It's actually a choice. And what do you consider being alone?
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that I think pets are underrated.
Underrated?
Underrated as far as how much they mean to people for loneliness. Do you know what underrated means? Like not appreciated enough?
Yeah.
Aleph's like, no, I appreciate my pet. I appreciate my cats. What's the nicest? Do you celebrate your cat's birthday?
No, but it's like the best thing that I can do for him is just spending time and give him a best food that he never try.
Give him some good food.
Yes.
And that makes you feel good. How do you know he likes the food so much? Because the cats can't go, oh, this is delicious.
Cause the way that he treat like the body language when he appreciate that, he gonna look more exciting. His eyes gonna be more wide, look at you. Maybe he didn't say meow, but when he got the good taste of that food, he gonna lick his mouth, and his mouth. And
Right when he licks his mouth, you're like, yeah, fucking got him some good food.
Yeah, he gonna look at me like and lick his mouth. He's still gonna be swing, not mad, but it's like, oh, it's exciting.
It's funny because someone that's like sad or something like that, they're like, oh God, this guy fucking likes feeding his cat that much. But it's like, it's the small things that some people enjoy that makes you happy, right? It's like, if you have the ability to feed your cat good food and you're like, oh, that was great today when my cat was licking its lips because I love my cat so much. But it is a choice as far as being alone. Some people are very comfortable with it. My grandfather, probably a good 20 plus years after my grandmother passed away, never got remarried, never had a new girlfriend. I think he was in his early 60s.
That was a grog man.
Oh, what is it? Spirits mixed with water?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he made a choice that he was never going to get married or have a girlfriend or anything like that. He was very staunch about that, and that was one thing he had for him, though. He went to church every Sunday. He went to a men's health club. He did things with other people, so he wasn't like he was just staying at home. So it depends on your definition of what being alone is. Now, to take a step back on this all, Key Lee, I feel like COVID has been an excuse for everything. People doesn't want to go. Doesn't want to go where? What do you mean by that statement, Key Lee? People don't want to go out anymore? Like, you mean go out on dates, or what do you mean? It depends on, here's the thing about COVID, it depends on where you're at in the world. Some places are more strict than others. So really, where you're at in the world, Keely, I've seen you on once before. But the the interesting thing about it, when you come out of a breakup, I think that a lot of people can easily settle for not being alone, because there's plenty of people out there that want to be with someone too. The reason that you might be alone is because you're searching for a better match. California. Oh, California's strict right now. That's where I'm from. Where are you from in California, if I may ask? There are people dying out there. There's restrictions for many reasons. You need to get tested. The UK is on lockdown. Okay. Yeah. That's tough, man. That's tough. It's like one of those things. It's like, I don't got an easy answer for that one. There's not an easy answer. Merced, Central Valley. Yeah, I know where Merced is. That's out there, man. Central Valley, okay. That's on the way to Yosemite, I believe. So you think that COVID's an excuse to people don't want to go out anymore. It's one of those things, you know what? It's everyone's right to take information and interpret it the way they want. So some people are going to go, hey, I'm not going to mess around with this. Other people are going to go, I don't mind because I have a strong immune system, or this or that. It's kind of one of those things, to each their own. But unfortunately for individuals, whatever area or place you live in is going to dictate what you do with that. So I don't know if it's it might be an excuse to you. It's something that you got to deal with and get creative with. That's for certain. That's for sure. That's for damn sure. It's not worth the risk, says Jesse Chapman. I suppose if it's dangerous where you're at, right? Could be. Yeah. But getting back to the topic of will you be alone forever?
No.
You know what's interesting is, like, what's the biggest punishment in humankind? What's up, Robert?
Ignorance. Like you got ignored from other people, and
To be ignored?
yeah, to be ignored, not get
Like, that would be, yeah, so you said ignorance, or like ignorance, that's a different word, but you're right, the to be ignored. Is to me the worst is jail, solitary confinement. Solitary confinement means like when someone gets in trouble in jail. I don't know if they do it in Thailand, but you have to go and be alone in a cell.
In that place.
Yeah, that just seems so fucking. Doesn't that seem so bad? Like
Yeah.
you can't talk to anyone.
Be alone.
They just give you your food. I mean, I'm social, so I mean, some people that aren't social would be like, oh, good, I don't have to see anyone. Maybe some some people I know that don't like social things, but like sliding your meal underneath. But you know what's funny about that is that's when someone makes friends with the rat that comes in the cell or something. Like whenever you watch a movie or something, right? Starts feeding the rat or something because human beings are connected to connection. So I think that they find a way. But it's kind of interesting that some people choose to be alone, and then they adapt to being alone, and then it's harder to be social probably.
And they get used to it.
Yeah, they get used to it, which again, like my grandfather, 20 plus years, people would be like, why doesn't he get a wife? Why doesn't he have this? Where my grandma, from the age of probably her late 50s, she had three different husbands. She had all three of them die on her too. So it's like she wasn't single long. She was like maybe a month later she had a new husband. But being alone doesn't sound that scary. And my grandma would always ask people, why don't you have someone? If someone was single, my grandma would be like, why aren't you with someone? What's wrong? Because that was, to her, it was like, you got to have someone. Robert Cook, what's new, man? What's cooking, Mr. Cook of the Cook Islands? But the thing is, they're not afraid to hop on planes and go on vacations, though. But being alone doesn't sound that scary. Really? I don't think being alone is scary. Unless you're scared of ghosts or you're scared of, like people robbing your house, which some people are. Like there are some people that are adults that still don't like being alone at home or something. Someone was just telling me this recently that's an adult. She's like, I actually don't like being alone at home. I get scared. And I was like, okay, full on adult. Some people are like that. Certain countries are really extreme with that, Mac. Look up world's toughest prisons will give a guy better insight. Oh, I don't want any part of prison. No way. Yeah, that's scary. Yeah, they're all different, right, Jesse? Well, we're at the 22-minute mark. Thanks for the likes, folks. I appreciate it. We got 1 like and 8 people on deck. That's really kind of the 1 like. Wish I could reach out and give you a little psh. Right? What would you say to someone, Aleph, with all your wisdom at 23 years old and all your kindness to cats?
Yeah.
If they said, hey, will I be alone forever?
I would say if you would like to, just go ahead. But I don't think that human could be alone forever. Because human is a kind of animal, like social animal. We need something. We gonna need to do something to connect to the people. Even you go to the mart like that, you had to talk.
Right.
Yeah. So can you be alone? You could if you would like to.
Well, if you don't like people, get a dog or a cat, probably would be what I would say.
Yeah. But in that count that you are not alone because you have your pet. Right?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Everyone's an audience, right? So someone would be like, oh, no, a dog doesn't count. Someone else would say a dog does count.
Okay, but I think that they are a part of friends.
Yeah, it's definitely social.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely social.
Because cat and dog, they are also social animals.
Cats are social?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Actually, yes. Because
cats are a little selfish sometimes, I think.
not that selfish, but it's like they just like to spending time just as much as they want.
Where a dog wants more of your time and more food.
Compared with dog is need more.
Would you ever have a dog?
I would like to.
You would have a dog?
Yes.
And then you wouldn't like cats anymore, probably.
No, I may have both actually, because they both have different energy to give for you.
I think if you're lonely, this might sound like they tell old people this. I think having a dog is something that's good, or a cat. Like it will help you a little bit. Then you got someone to talk to, and they never talk back.
They just bark back.
I guess they can bite you though.
They could.
A dog will bite its owner. Sam Ellis, I'm 35. Well, good for you. 35 is a great age. Been single for a decade. That's 10 years, Aleph. Then dated this man 3 years ago, and he dumped me in August. I live alone, and I'm feeling hopeless, feeling I'll be alone forever. Ha, ha, ha. But you laugh about it. That's a great sense of humor. I'll be alone forever. Ha, ha, ha. Are you serious, Sam? All right, so this is what I don't get. When you say I've been single for a decade, but dated this man 3 years ago and he dumped me. So let's just unpack this, Sam. If you want, you can call in. I'll take it on right now. Let's just unpack this really quick. 3 years ago, you dated someone. So that means you weren't together. How long did you date each other? And what happened would be my question. I hate cats, prefer dogs. Hate's a strong word, Keely. Why do you hate cats? Been a year since I last spoke to my ex. Feel a lot better about it now, but do occasionally look back and it makes me feel a bit of pain. Robert, you were in deep pain. This guy was in, when I first started doing breakup coaching and started my channel, Robert was emailing me quite a bit, actually. So for you, for Robert, it was really tough because I believe his girlfriends. This is where breakups get hard. Is when it's like a web that entangles someone still in it. So Robert's on right now, so he can correct me if I'm wrong. His girlfriend's mom dated his dad. Is that right? That's right. So like something to that effect. Was it your mom? Was it her mom dated
With
your dad? Was that correct, Robert? How did I get that wrong or right? Could you imagine that? I think the ultimate one is when someone owns a business together. And they're like, okay, or you own a house together, you own these. It's not that easy. People are like, oh, why don't you just break up? It's like, wait a minute. Who's going to get this? Who's going to get that? Who's going to get this? Who's going to get that? It's understandable, actually, because if you've been working towards something and you have your ends involved and your money involved, it can get dirty really quick. But I've heard that more than once, where someone's parents are involved with, or one of their parents is involved with their girlfriend or boyfriend's parents. I was just like, wow, how did that happen? That'd be awkward.
Yeah.
And I think then you go visit and your girlfriend's at the house like during the holidays or something like that, and you're like, okay, and then your ex is there. I don't know.
You're becoming like a step brother or step sister with your ex.
That's Well, I mean, step it, like if you're adults, it's different than if you grew up together, right?
Yeah.
Because if you grew up together, that means that you like you shared households and stuff. So it's a little different than if you if it was while you're an adult. Because if one of my parents had gotten remarried or something, my parents were gonna get divorced before, and if they got remarried, I wouldn't call that person my stepbrother or stepsister. You know, like if the other person had kids once you're grown and shit. That's just different. Keely says, are people more afraid of being alone or dying alone? Being alone and living alone. What if you just died in the home for days? That's a good question. I would say that my grandfather alerted the neighbors that he knew, like, if you don't see the blinds open in the morning, please come check on me, because he knew that he lived alone, right? So, and he did fall one time, and they found him, and they called the hospital and stuff. But I think that being alone and dying alone, really, you're just making it more dramatic. Like if you go, I don't want to die alone. Who the fuck knows when you're going to die, dude? I mean, you have more of a chance when you're older.
Yeah.
Right? You have more of a chance when you have a serious ailment or problem. But you also still don't know, unfortunately, lightning strikes, something fucking crazy happens. So, like, to put that on it, you're actually anticipating something you don't know. So that's not fair to your psyche. But I would say being afraid of being alone is something that you have a little bit more control over than you think. That It's just like working out or exercising and saying like, I don't want to be fat forever, or I don't want to have diabetes forever. I don't want to have these things. Then do something about it. People aren't going to come rescue you from loneliness. My last relationship before this guy ended 2007. I dated again 2017, and it ended. And I'm laughing because I know there's hope. But man, just feeling down, feel like it's forever. Why do you feel like it's forever? Why do you use that word forever? And why haven't you dated again? What's the roadblock? Because you don't want to get hurt? It's a good question. Where are you at in the world, Sam? Always liked that name, Sam.
Sam.
We had a dog named Sam. No offense, Sam. Samantha was the dog's name, but Sam, we used to call it Sam, an old hound. Is that messed up to say that you used to have a dog named that about a person?
No. Even I have a cat, my cat name as same as my friend, I still not feel awkward.
No, I don't think it's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
Someone told me before that's really rude. It's like, that's not rude.
ใช่ไหมฟ้า
I think it's more rude to call someone a dog.
Oh, yeah.
That would be
Yes,
out of
sir.
line, right? 30 minutes in, 4 likes, 4 people on deck.
So talking about like advantage of being alone and disadvantage of being alone.
Okay.
Talking about that.
You're asking me?
Yep.
Oh, fuck yeah. There's advantages to being alone. Yeah. You don't have to negotiate anything with anyone. You don't have to go like, hey, if you have one bathroom, you don't have to go like, hey, when are you going to get done with the shower? Or, hey, I'm going to leave the plates in my sink. Or, yeah, there's advantages. When when the advantages really come up is when you had a hard day's work and you want to come home and just not see anyone.
Yeah.
You had a long day or a long day of travel, and you're like, oh, I just want to be alone. So there's advantages to that. I guess it'd be best to have the balance, but also, what's the definition of being alone? That's such a big word, right? Because some people can live alone but not be alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just gonna say I'm alone because you live alone, I don't know if that's accurate. If you have a good social life and you meet a lot of people and you have friends, because living with someone could be fucking hell, right? It can if their life isn't going well, or they like to, if they have some kind of leverage. That's a big one. And parents have leverage, by the way, because parents, when you're younger, you don't really have a choice. You can't go, hey, I don't want to live here anymore. Like, they're like, all right, I'm going to feed you, I'm going to take care of you, but you're going to have to do what I say. Mm-hmm. So it's like a trade-off, right? Mm-hmm. And so until you get older, you don't realize, like, all right, how am I gonna move out or do what I want to do? But I think the advantage of being alone is up to the individual, because some people enjoy it more than others. But I would say that, like anything else, if you've been in a bad relationship, or you've been in a bad household, or you've lived in a crowded place for a long time. I've got a good friend that grew up living in a garage, like at the house, and he had just a huge family. He had like 15 people in the house. He shared the garage with someone. Just a huge family, like aunts, uncles, cousins, all in one 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. And you think he wants to live alone? Fuck yeah, he wants to live a fucking alone. I remember there was a event where we were all on a trip, and he got a hotel room to himself. He's like, oh, this is just great, because he's lived that way for so long. So I think a lot of times we want what we've been neglected of for a long time. And the longer you're neglected of something, it's like, think about it this way, Olive. If you're walking around the desert, you don't have a desert here, but if you're walking around the desert and you don't have water, fuck, that first glass of water tastes good.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that where you like exercised or you're hot and you're like, God, I never tasted fucking water like this before. This is like the best water I've ever had. And usually you're like, oh, I don't like water. I'd rather have a lemon soda or something like that, right? Like, I'd rather have something with flavor. I'd like to have a Coke. But if you come out of the desert or you come out of exercise, you're like, oh, this is the most delicious cold water I've ever had in my life. Why? Because you're neglected. Your body needs water, but at the same time, you're like, so being alone, if you've been suffocated by living with too many people, then that's going to be like, wow, this is great. I love living alone. This is fantastic. And then you'll go through a moment where you live with some people. So I've done both. And I would say that the best in my life experience and living with multiple roommates, family members, girlfriends, is living with someone or a group that you like and get along with.
Yeah.
That's the catch.
Yeah.
If you don't like each other and don't get along, it's fucked. Sorry, it's fucked, because it's not easy just to go, I'm out of here. Because you eventually can get out, you can eventually move out, but sometimes you need to help out with money. Sometimes you need to help out, you care about the person. The funny thing is, you can care about someone, you can love someone and not like them. That's kind of an interesting thing. You don't like to say it, but you're like, I love them, but I don't really like them. No one will say that, but they'll be like, yeah, would you hang out with them as a friend? No, it's a family member. It's different. But good roommates, or when family's good, nothing better. Nothing better. But unfortunately, when you got multiple lives, there's multiple ups and downs, and you're going to get caught up in those when you live with people, and you're going to be like, and people when they're people want you to make you feel how they feel. It's just a human thing. It's just human. It's like if you're sad, in some ways you're like, I wish you'd be sad with me. So they kind of just throw something out there. If you come home and someone's sad about something, you come home and you won the fucking lottery, and you're like, fuck, man, I won the lottery. Let's go out. Fucking drinks and food on me. The person, if they're sad enough, will be like, you'll probably lose it. You'll probably lose it all. Like they'll find some way to create sadness or negativity. And you'll be like, dude, I just won the lottery, though. And all they can think about is what's wrong with them. This is how most people are. College roommates are horrible. Don't want to live with roommates anymore, depending whom you live with. Did you go to Merced, UC Merced? I've had good college roommates and I've had bad ones, and I would say this: sometimes your best friends aren't your best roommates. It's the people that are the most responsible and the people that hold similar values to you and that are absolutely capable. This might sound shallow, this might sound like to the point, but they're capable of paying their bills. Because why are you roommates? You're roommates to help each other out with the rent. So, and secondly, if you hang out well and you do things good together, that's fine. But first and foremost, can you pay the bills? Because if you can't, and you're like, oh, can you cut me? Can you get me this month? Can you get me this month? I've been there a couple of times. It sucks because it affects friendships. Really does. At the end of the day, it's like, roommates? Roommates can be good. Like, as long as you're on the same page, you have the same fun. As you get older, this is why old people don't become roommates. I'm at a point in my life where, like, yeah, it's harder for me to have roommates because you're just more set in your ways. I went to college out of state. Biggest mistake I've made. Went to school in Seattle. Why would that? God, you got a lot of mistake. Biggest mistake I make. I'll never live with Carl's roommates again. Horrible. Tell me something good, Keely. Give me something good. Seattle's got good coffee, right? And they got the place where they throw the salmon. I've been to Seattle one time. Al, if you've never been to the States, have you ever heard of Seattle?
Yeah.
Washington? Mm-hmm. It's all right. So it's an okay city, I suppose. Gloomy. What's up, Lala? It's been a long time. Roommate, half the money, twice the trouble. Yeah, I mean, when it's your you think when they're friends of yours, you're like, oh, this is gonna work out. And I've had a couple that are like really good friends and good roommates, and like I said, they're usually very responsible. They're not necessarily pushovers, but they're just they care to do the right thing, and they don't make excuses. But number one, first and foremost, if you have roommates, do you have the ability to pay your rent, or are you always coming up with some excuse of why? I mean, otherwise it's just hell, because not paying the rent makes you not like. And then the worst part, tell me I'm wrong, Lala, is you got a roommate. I had this happen before, and he didn't pay the rent. He's got fucking $10 to his name, and he comes home with like candy from the store, some beers, and I remember that this guy came home with like some video VHS tapes he bought at a video store or something. I was like, didn't you have no money and you just bought a bunch of junk? You just lost your job? Oh, yeah, yeah. And you're like, in the back of your head, you're like, I don't even want to ask, but you owe me money. Creates a bad situation. It's a great experience, but the debt I accumulated while there. What did you study, Keely? Why did you go to Seattle? I mean, Merced's not a poppin' place. I would have went to Southern California. San Diego was pretty fun when I lived down there. I like that. Weather counts. Seattle's gloomy all year round. You know what gloom is?
Mm-hmm.
Just like gray skies. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say all year round. You know better than I do, Keely, but it's gloomy. It's a gloomy place. And gloomy weather, when it rains a lot, doesn't make you really happy.
Yeah.
You guys got to go.
Yep.
All right, fellas. I'll finish my little set here.
See you later.
I studied tourism. I'm not even working within the industry. Well, tourism is probably the worst thing to study right now.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, Keely. Jeez, man. All right, Keely, I know how to put you into a state of where you feel good about yourself again. In this moment right now, I have something for you. It's what you can use anytime you're like this, because it seems like right now it's a really tough time for you. Is that true, Keely? Yep. Ask yourself some good questions, like starting with how old are you? You're in your early 20s. I'm taking it because you just finished college. I studied tourism. Wow. That's tough. What was the greatest moment in your life? Don't fight it. Don't overthink it. What was the greatest moment in your life? And if you say I've never had one, I'm gonna stop the live stream right now. Because when you're down and you're out and you can come back to what was the greatest moment of my life, it actually just gives you a little bit of a boost for a moment. The other thing is, force yourself to smile once in a while in the mirror. When you smile, it tells your brain you're happy. But I'm assuming too, Keely, that one of the reasons that you found my channel is at some point you had a breakup recently. Could be wrong. '32 greatest moment would be participating in the swim and water polo team. Okay. School. High school. Isn't it amazing? Mine would probably be middle school basketball. Game-winning shot. Or game-tying shot. 10-4, 10-9, 8-7, 6-5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Swish. Sports is so incredible because even if, I've talked about this before, even if you don't make it professionally or to the Olympics, the feelings you get from winning a game, the camaraderie you get from being on a good team, and the mentorship and the leadership you get from a good coach, which is not always the case. You don't always get a good coach. You don't always get a good camaraderie on the team. But if you do get that, it's damn special. And it's like someone was just asking me that. It was a former client of mine. And he sent me an email, and he's like, "Oh, you should give more advice on stuff outside of just breakups," because I helped him out. He's in college, 24, I think, or just finishing. And he's thinking about going back to school, and he was talking about going into some football academy. Excuse me. And he said that if he gets this football academy after a year, he has a good chance of being in a D2 or D1 football scholarship if he does this academy for a year. I said, fucking go for it. And the position he's going to play would be punter, which has no glory, right? Who cares? You're a part of the team. All my friends that played college ball absolutely loved it. And they weren't all stars. They didn't go to great schools. One of my best friends was an absolute star in high school. Passed up a few scholarships, but then went to a D1, got hurt, snapped his Achilles, which is a horrible injury. I mean, brought him down to ground zero. Never dealt with that before. Then he got kicked off the team for a fight he got into outside of school. But he stuck with it, and he ended up going to some small private college in, I think, South Dakota. And he put 2.5 more years of football. And he had a dream to be pro, never made it. But if you can play any sport in college, good for you. That's a higher level than high school. That's a higher level than middle school. And that's a moment. It's like you watch Olympics, TV, high-end competitions, anything, I guess, that's televised. But even though you don't get the recognition of a pro, I would say when you play the actual game, wouldn't your feelings and emotions be the exact same? You know what I mean? The only difference is how many people you're playing for in an audience. I suppose an audience of 20,000 or football has 60,000, that could play a role. Because there's something to the collective unconscious of energy and people and groups and large groups that can't be remade on a playground. But you come back to those times, Keely. You come back to those times. Sports takes you away from wanting to be in a relationship. Well, I guess sports takes you away from a lot of things. If one thing that's really underrated coming out of a breakup or being in a bad place in your life, and I think it's never been more of an issue than now in the world, is camaraderie. Where are you going to get your camaraderie? Because it's very important to people. Camaraderie it's like a deeper thing. It's like a kinship. It's not necessarily your family. People get it when they're firemen. People get it when they're in gangs. You know, like it's a horrible thing, some of these gangs and whatnot. But like, it's camaraderie. There's it's people that have your back, they support you. Are you in activities or in groups that have that? Because that's how humans evolved, and that's a big portion of us being happier. Hopefully the live stream here sometimes provides a little bit of camaraderie for some of you. All right, folks, I just want to try a new time with the new setup, and I wanted to check in with those out there and give some people an opportunity that usually aren't able to chime in on the live streams that I do. Anyone have any closing questions really quick? I'll give that a few moments. Let the birds chirp. I'm about 5:30 p.m. where I'm at in Phuket, Thailand. About to go down to the beach. Go down for the sunset in about an hour. Is there any topics that you'd like me to cover? I might come back on later on tonight. I'm feeling a little frisky. Got a lot of good energy right now. And I would come back on in about 3 hours or 2.5 hours. If anyone's interested, you have a full line to me right now to let me know what you'd like to talk about. Sam Ellis, I'm sorry to hear about feeling down like it's forever. It won't be forever. That I can promise you, because nothing lasts forever. That's not a cliche. That's just the truth. Except maybe plastic, from what I heard, doesn't biodegrade. Right? Thailand. Now it makes sense. Thought you were up late in U.S. time. Nope. What time is it for you right now, Keely? Keely, you've been on before. I've seen you on before on the live stream, I think. You snuck in the back door a couple of times. 2:25 a.m. Wow. Wow. Night owls right now, huh? Pacific time, yep. All right, folks, I think I might come back on in about 3 hours. I'm sure Keely will be asleep by then, or some of the night owls. But I'll be back on deck this week. Everything will be on. Coach Mac McCarthy at Instagram if you want to check my Instagram out. If you want to go to writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com, and send in your story to get my take in a live stream like this, or a private video response that's available, or we could do live coaching. If not, that's all good. Wish you all the best. It's Curtains.